Sponsored by Scholarly.2018. Giving back so you can get ahead.
Welcome to the module. In this video, we'll discover the history of labor unions and unionized labor on a sequential timeline from its inception through changes and union membership to present day. Let's follow the journey. But first, labor unions are about working together for the benefit of all. After all, isn't that what unions are all about? And that's the key. We hope that this video will provide research to help educate and inspire a new generation of unification. I'm Doug, and a special thanks go out to Matthew, Michelle, Troy, Van, and Ian. Let's get right to it.
So we're going to talk about the origin of the evolution of union labors in the US. And here are a few pictures. During the Industrial Revolution period in Europe, factories owners exploit their workers because most of them have very little skills. Workers across various industries often have long working hours, receive minimum almost next to no salaries, work in extremely hazardous environment, and children labor was one of the norms. In response to this situation, the Europeans formed labor groups and take their demands to the street. Similar situations happened in the US around the same time frame. Particularly, the railway workers were receiving low wages, working in conditions where they are easily injured, if not being life-threatened. And this is also the case for many manufacturing facilities across the country. Because there were no safety laws or regulations to protect these workers, they gathered and become the early forms of unions, usually in groups based on skill sets to demand for improvements. Among these labor groups, the Brotherhood of Locomotive represents a group of engineers who wish to protect workers' rights. Unfortunately, many of them were fired because of their memberships.
Because of all the reasons as Matthew described earlier, in 1866, the National Labor Union was formed. The goal of the National Labor Union was to create a national labor federation that could lobby the government for labor reforms on behalf of the labor organizations. Its primary focus was to limit the workday to 8 hours, which was passed in 1862. Because of a focus on government reform rather than collective bargaining, many workers joined the Knights of Labor in 1880s, which eventually led to an end of the National Labor Union. It initiated strikes that were successful in increasing pay and benefits. Because of unsuccessful strikes, lack of organization, and poor management, the organization was dissolved. In 1886, the American Federation of Labor was formed, whose primary focus was on higher wages and job security. By the efforts of the Central Labor Union, on September 5, 1882, the first Labor Day holiday was celebrated in New York. And on June 28, 1894, President Cleveland signed a law making the first Monday in September of each year as a national holiday.
The changing labor movement. In the past, employees were seeking jobs that they could start early in life with the intent of staying there and retiring. Many industries, to include the automotive industry, have been transformed by both technology and globalization over the past 4 decades. Many of these changes have made the labor movement more fluid, causing employees to be proactive in that they will need to learn many skills and work in multiple professions. Research indicates that the median tenure for workers between ages of 25 and 34 is only 3.2 years, where their counterparts. Recent surveys show that there are currently 57.3 million people freelancing. This was enabled by the ability to work from home with advancements in technology. By 2027, it is expected that there will be more freelance workers than non-freelance workers.
Before union membership started in 1947, the UN Congress passed the changes to the National Labor Relations Act. This act gave labor unions the power to bargain during the Depression period, the Wagner Act. The change made the new law known as the Taft-Hartley Act of 1947. And here's the graph showing where 1947 is, and it started decline. In the early 1950s, around a third of American labor force was unionized. The organized labor union influence steadily decreased, and the worker collective voice in the political process has weakened. As a result, wages have stagnated and income inequality has increased. By the 1970s, the rapid increased flow of imports such as automobiles, steel, electronics from Germany and Japan, along with clothing and shoes from Asia, undercut the American producers. By the 1980s, there was a large-scale shift in employment, with fewer workers in high-wage sector and more in the lower sector.
In today's society, unions are just as important as they were 50 to 100 years ago, and now they extend beyond manufacturing. Unions protect lower wage and middle wage workers and helps them to increase their wages through bargaining processes with the companies. Doing so ensures that these workers are making the money they deserve for the work they're doing. Also, in today's society and today's unions, they extend beyond manufacturing. And in fact, extend into healthcare, protecting nurses, and extending into education.
And there we have it, the history of unionized labor in a nutshell. Special thanks to our contributors. The module, sponsored by Scholarly.2018 for ERAU Worldwide.